Hey, hope you're all doing well. So this is my brand new all-in-one in-ear rig and guitar rack that I'm taking on tour with my original music at the end of this year and early in 2023. Wait, what year are we? 24. Holy crap. So this whole setup I did originally have in two separate racks. I had the Behringer, the splitter, and the in-ear wireless system in one, and I had the Axe and the guitar wireless in the other. Now, whilst that still was a fairly small little rig and it was easy to cart around, take it to rehearsal, take it to gigs, and it wasn't too hard to put together, it was quick. However, I did find more often than not, even just at a rehearsal, I'd forget at least one lead. In a gig situation, it would just stress me out to have to think about what's got to go where and make sure I've got all the leads going in. I was a bit overwhelmed, so I wanted to compact it all into this one awesome case. And you'll see on top I do have a laptop running Ableton Live because we do play to a click track and we have a few backing tracks going through front of house as well. If you don't like backing tracks, get over it. Everyone does it. Now, this is not the stand that we use on stage. We take one of these bad boys, which is just a laptop stand. Obviously is a tripod on the bottom there. This sits next to the drummer and he's the one that triggers all of the songs. He has his own one of these, so I just keep this in my house. Of course, playing to a click track means that I don't have to worry about pressing any of my patch changes on the floor in the Axe Effects. It is all done for me, and that frees up a lot of mental space. I can play and not have to worry about, am I hitting the right patch? Am I going to bring this lead in time? Am I even near the pedal board? It's all done for me, and I definitely recommend giving it a go. It's not for everyone, but it is amazing. The case is the SKB Roto rolling case. It's got, there we go, that's a handle. So when the back goes on, it's got wheels in there so I can stand it up. And this wheels in and out of the venue, which was the whole point. I don't want to have to be lifting things. A big part of condensing it into one case means I only have to take one thing. Before I was taking two racks and a guitar and a backpack and a pedal board, so that's more than one trip. I'm trying to bring it down so I only have to do one trip from the car to the venue, which is like so cool. Starting at the bottom, I have the Behringer 8-channel splitter. This thing's cheap. I think it was like 80 bucks. Now I only have a 3-piece currently, so 8 channels in is more than enough. Originally I did have my guitar going through here, but now that I've got the Axe Effects and it's already set up, I've got things routed differently. I'll talk about that one in a moment. But the bass comes through here. When we rehearse, drummer uses a digital kit, so we plug in through that and it routes around and goes into the mixer, and obviously that goes into our ears. Over here, these two going into the splitter are the tracks from Ableton Live. We already have the tracks in our ears already. So to get it to front of house, I've got it coming out of the auxiliary outs into the splitter, and then that goes through to front of house. So vocals need to come through this unit as well because I need to hear myself sing. So there's a couple ways I'm thinking about going about this. I can either just go straight through the splitter, one to the ears, one to front of house, and then they can do whatever they do out front. Or I'm thinking of just going straight into the mixer, having the vocals processed through Ableton Live with some delay, reverb, that sort of thing, and then that way, whatever they get front of house, he just has to turn me up and down. It's all done. In order to do that, I'm going to have to route the vocals back out of the mixer and follow a similar process as I did there with the tracks, but that's a maybe. Or the other option is to run through the Boss VE500. Now this one is not in the rack, it's going to sit at my feet, which is probably not a bad idea, I think, because then I can go vocals into here, can take front of house straight out, and then one to myself. I do actually have this set up via MIDI, triggering some delays and a few different effects on the vocals as well. In that case, I would just need to run a couple of leads. So I'm trying to downsize, but a couple of leads to this isn't that big a deal. So I touched on the routing briefly with the XR18. I'm not going to go in depth with that. Most people would know how these work. They're fantastic. You've got this app that you can do all your mixing on, or in our case we use the iPad, and we have this just sitting on off stage and adjust as we need to, but we more or less set it up before we go, so that way we know what to expect when we get there. Now on stage, the only things we don't have in our ears are the drums, because it's just going to be too hard to muck around getting it sent into the ears and have to worry about a mix. There was one guy one time who tried to send the kick drum in, and it was just a horrible mess. It went horribly wrong, so I don't go for that. I find I can hear the drums enough, and with the click track and everything else, it seems to be alright. I do have the USB cable here at the front going into the laptop, which then allows the XR18 to act as an interface, and that's how I can get the audio in and out of Ableton Live. The XR18 is really great, especially at its price point. It's a full-on mixer and a full-on interface all in one. So also you may have noticed that the XR18 is slightly recessed into the unit. Someone on my old in-ear rack video commented that you can get recessed units with holes, and so I found these. They were cheap on, I can't remember the site, but I'll put a link down the bottom for those as well. These are great. Everything's routed through the hole, out through the side. Perfect. And now I have the Axe effects, which is running all of my guitar effects. When I'm just at home rehearsing, I've got obviously the input there at the front. However, on stage, I'm using this bad boy right here. This is the Sennheiser EW digital wireless system. So far, I've found this to be fantastic. The way it was explained to me is that it uses a frequency that's not overly crowded. And so far, I've had no issues with it. It's been fantastic. I do recommend resyncing your pack with the unit before every show because you don't want to have anything go wrong. And you'll see just here, I've got ears and front of house. This, of course, is the volume for my ears. And I have all of my patches routed so that this volume here controls what front of house is going to receive. So everything on the Axe Effects is on the other side of it, and the USB as well is going to be connecting to the laptop. I have a little USB hub in the back, so both the XR18 and the Axe Effects are going into that hub, and that hub just goes into a USB-C extension. I have a nice long 3-meter one because I don't know where this is going to end up on the stage, and I need to be able to get it to the laptop so the drummer can play with it, so we need an extra bit of length. This one was just a spare because you can never have too many. Another great thing about having this all-in-one and only having one USB lead connected to the laptop, not only is the Behringer acting as the interface, but if I need to, I can access the Axe Effects software on the laptop. I do have a few things set up on the panel to make things quick and easy for live situation. However, I'm not really good at using that. I very much use the editor, so to have that there as an option all the time, winner. And this is what's going on in the back. At the top, I've got the Shure PSM 300 in-ear wireless transmitter. Now that's in the back because it turns out that the Sennheiser and the Shure units, they don't match up. They've both got the ability to join together and just be in one rack unit space. However, two different brands, two different systems. Now it's not so bad, it's just one's on the back, one's on the front. So as I mentioned, the Shure PSM wireless is mine and the bass player's mix. We just use the same mix. And the drummer, being stationary, just uses one of these Behringer P1 in-ear systems. He has his own one, and he has his own power and 2 leads. We just run 2 leads, plug it into the front, he powers it right near himself, and easy done, away you go. So this here is a PowerTech power strip. It's not a power conditioner, it's just a power strip. I probably should, at some stage, get myself a power conditioner. I just haven't got one yet. Everything's plugged into there, and I do have one free slot for the laptop charger. This bad boy right here, that's where the lead connects to the hub. I've taped that up because I found that there was one way that it wouldn't work, but the other way it does. I've taped it up, and that way it's done. I don't have to think about it anymore. And then that way, the lead, once I'm done, I can ravel it up, and I can fit it in the bottom. Which brings me to the last bit, a 2-unit rack drawer, which is the bomb. And in here, I've got mine and the bass player's in-ear wireless packs, our pouch with our ears, and my guitar wireless, which the lead is separate. Now that is probably like too much space in reality for the few things that I've got in there. So I might remove the bottom row of foam and then I could put some leads in top maybe, or some spare strings, string cleaner, that sort of thing. That way it's all there. It's ready to go. So when I had this separated into the 2 separate cases, I did have a second Behringer splitter on the back, which essentially was a pass-through for the splitter. I went to one gig and I had to reach through with my splitter cable, which is all labeled to make things easier. However, to reach through the unit to then plug in was an absolute pain in the ass. So I put the second one there for easy access because it was much shallower than what this is. However, I don't need that second one because, as you can see, I've left all this space in the bottom, and this bad boy is going to be able to fit in the bottom there for transport, which is fantastic. So all in all, it has gotten a bit heavy, but it's got wheels, it's got a handle, which is exactly what I was looking for. And worst case, if I struggle to pick it up, I just get somebody to help me to put it in the car, get it out of the car. Easy done. So the only other thing that I take with me and have to run a lead for is the board for the Axe Effects. I use an FC12 with an expression pedal. It's currently in its own case, but I did discover the other day that the FC12 does fit perfectly in the back of this. So that way, all I need to do is have my guitar in my left hand, this being dragged along in my right hand, this goes on my back. One trip. Now, as I said, I am using tracks and I have everything automated, so I don't actually need the FC12. In reality, I could downsize to an FC6 and it would fit even easier in the bag. However, you know, it tends to add up. I'm not made of money. Right now, the FC12 does the job. I could, in theory, go without it and just set up the expression pedal, but I definitely want to be able to see the tuner at my feet and not have to turn around and have to look for the on-screen tuner. And I like to have a failsafe in case something does go wrong with the setup. I can then trigger all of my scenes on my FC12, which I've set up for every song, intro, verse, chorus, etc. So in regards to in-ear monitoring, this phone's output is going through to the PSM, and that's what I get in my ears and the bass player gets in their ears. The drummer, as I said, uses the P1 and he plugs into these down the bottom. He likes his in stereo, so he does the two auxiliaries and just sends it as he needs to. So this is bigger than I originally wanted it. However, it meant I was able to put in that shallow rack drawer in the back, and I can store leads and a few extra bits and bobs, which is fantastic. I only want to be able to take the one bag, and it gets full pretty quick, so the extra storage definitely came in handy. So there we go, that is my newly put together all-in-one in-ear and guitar unit. It's mad. I'm really thrilled with it. Make sure you check out my original music. Links are down in the description. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If anyone has any questions about the unit, happy to answer. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. See you next time.